Welcome back to the I Can't Sleep podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Fontaine, and thanks for taking the time listening. I interviewed Bonni Benhard about her stories with ghosts and other paranormal events that she encountered. Bonni told me there was a time when her grandson, who was about 2 or 3 years old at the time, and how he would not go down a certain hallway in their house. The child spoke of there being a lady at the end of the hallway. Bonni spoke with her spiritual empath friend Candy, who can see spirits and communicate with them. Candy did her thing to where Bonni found that the spirit at the end of the hallway was actually her great-grandmother. Bonni had a collage of pictures of generations of her female family members to where she asked her grandson to point out what he saw, to where he pointed out the same woman that stood at the end of the hallway. Candy spoke to the spirit and told Bonni that the spirit wasn't there to hurt the boy, but only to protect him, and that she didn't mean to scare him, and how she was always going to be there to protect him without actually showing herself ever again. Bonni shared a more darker and personal story. This is how it went.
Both my parents, they got addicted to opioids, and I was trying to take care of them, but they weren't very nice, and so they both died. And I have a son that was pretty influenced by my dad, and he was fixing up their house. Their house caught on fire, and they weren't living in it, and he was fixing the house, and there was times where you could feel this, like, my son would kind of change, and you could feel some influences that were just not good. And so she, I don't know how to describe it. You could just feel this weird thing trying to influence you to think differently than what you thought. So once again, I went to Candy and I told her, I said, I think, especially Marshall, he was trying to influence him, and you could feel it in my other children too, even the ones that didn't live close. So Candy went to her spiritual help and asked them, and she said that my dad had, she calls them keys, and she says that the spirits can put like spears and knives and chains on you to hold you down so you can't progress in this life unless you ask for help to move forward. And she said that my father had put all these chains on me to keep me from progressing, because and even as a kid, he never really helped me go anywhere. And so she says she took the chains off, and that God actually put my dad in this prison and took away all his keys, so he couldn't have influence on anybody here on Earth. And the difference in have you ever felt heavy, like you can't go somewhere?
Yep.
So to have, lifelong chains removed from you is pretty cool. To feel the lightness. And as far as the spears and knives, it's she taught us how to, you can actually put your hands over people. Not everybody can do it. So many people don't believe in this, but she was helping people who had some abilities to do this. You can touch people and you can actually feel it. Something is on somebody, and you just feel it come out, and you can pull. Not even pull, you just sense it coming out. Your hand actually just moves away from it. Does that make sense? Anyway, yeah. So she did that to me and helped. My dad is actually, in my belief, my dad is locked up, so that he can't interfere with me or any of my children anymore.
Bonnie told me that her grandmother lived next to an Indian reservation and how she took care of the people that lived there, make sure they had plenty of food, water, and other necessities to live. But when Bonnie was a child, there was an Indian who was always there to help her when she was having a rough time or needed a type of help. She would see the same Indian even when she closed her eyes. But when her parents both passed away, unfortunately, she never saw the Indian again. But she never forgot how he would comfort her when needed. Oddly enough, Bonnie told me that she had a very bad dream the night before the interview, where she said after she awoke from a horrible dream, there was a presence of something there. In a way, it was protecting her. It even said the spirit touched her 4 to 5 times. What a coincidence. I asked Bonnie what her feelings were at the peak of the moment of those events versus now that she's had time to process her feelings. She replied, quote, "A lot of people believe in the bad spirits, but don't ever think about the good ones." She wanted to say that she feels more protected and safe because
with the bad, there's always the goods. There's times where I just know that somebody's here with me, protecting me.
Once again, thanks for taking time to listen. I hope you enjoyed this episode of I Can't Sleep Podcast, and have a great rest of your night.